Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Zem, the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening everyone. So today is Tuesday the 3rd of November 2020 and this is Achan Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. As usual, I'm here with you all tonight. And thank you everyone joining with me and listening this online Facebook Dhamma talk. Hello Margaret, good evening. I hope you're keeping well and well wrapped up. Now it's getting very cold. I noticed today that our central heating was on for a couple of times automatically. That means temperature inside the cottage dropped more than 10, right? Below 10 degrees. And so as a result, the central heating turned on just to keep the temperature around 10 degrees inside the cottage at the center. So whoever living here in Scotland or in England, now the weather is getting really cold, so keep warm yourself. And meanwhile, I would like to thank you and Dr. Professor Jayasenga and her and his family for dropping and offering firewood for the center. So we need a lot this year. But again, I would say that the firewood would not be using as much as we use it in the past years, because we don't have classes nowadays, so we don't have to turn it on much. But however, because of we are living now 3 venerable monks and feeling cold, so we may use it as often too. So we'll see along the way. So we have central heating, we have electric heating, and then firewood to keep us warm. So thank you everyone. We just need to be mindful how much we're using and not excess use of the heat. So we need to learn how to close the doors and close the windows and close the curtains and drinking a lot of warm waters just to keep us warm. It reminds me that the teachings of the Buddha that comes in the Vinaya, that monks should not have a shower quite regularly and allowed only 15 days a time. So monks can take a shower after 2 weeks' time. So that was the time, during the time of the Buddha, monks were allowed to have only 2 weeks' time of a shower or the bath. And that's not because of the cold weather, but because of the availability of the place where monks can take the bath. And it happened that some of the monks, particularly a group of 6 monks, were very fond of having a swimming and enjoying the water, and which is again classified as a place where the kings comes for the bath. And it happened that monks were just enjoying and didn't even bother. A king is there waiting for having a shower. So later then a complaint came to the Buddha, and that how on earth that a king is waiting to have a bath, but the venerable monks are just simply enjoying and playing with the water. So, and that's how the new rule came to be, and that is monks can have only monks can have a shower or bath only 2 weeks, once in 2 weeks' time. But I would say now this rule doesn't apply. But anyway, however, if someone smells stinky monks, then remember, monks, the Buddha allowed only 2 weeks of. Okay, so this is another excuse not to have a bath or shower. But we try to have every day, particularly after working, and we normally would have a shower just to get fresh. So in a way, it's against the Vinaya. Just being a naughty monks. Anyway, so back to our regular talk. So we are still focusing on the dependent origination, which is one of the very important discourses of the Buddha that Buddha gave, and which again I have said that it includes all the teachings as well, similar to the Four Noble Truths. So Four Noble Truths, yes, Emma, stinky monk, be careful, yeah. Right, anyway, okay, so as I have said in previous talks, that the Four Noble Truths, the problem, cause of a problem, and this problem can be end, and there is a path to end the problem, regarded as a big foot, like an elephant's foot, which includes all other creatures' foot that is available at the time of the Buddha. And similarly, the Four Noble Truths includes all other teachings. And this is same with this dependent origination. And this dependent origination also includes all other teachings, almost all other teachings. And yesterday I mentioned how that is this dependent origination, or paticcasamuppada, is linked with the Four Noble Truths, and which is again a second and a third noble truth. Meanwhile, yesterday I again explained that there are ways to look at and study the teachings of the Buddha. And yesterday I explained in 2 distinct ways of looking at it. One is lifetime, or the time schedule, like a 3 time schedule, past, present, and a future. And the second, I explained that the present we are simply the result of the past action that we have done. And then if you want to see the future, whichever ways you want to see, again would be the effect of a present action that you take now. So as a result of that, I mentioned about the 4 different ways. The number 1 is the past cause, and then a present effect that we have, and a present cause is for the future result. So that's 4 ways of looking at it. Okay? It's known as atita hetu. Atita hetu. Atita means the past. Hetu means the condition. Okay? And then so paccuppanna phala. Paccuppanna means present. Phala means the result. And paccuppanna hetu, present cause, and anagata phala is the future result, and that I explained yesterday on that. Meanwhile, I did mention about the prediction that people make, and which again based on the previous data that we have accumulated via the bodily, verbally, and mentally, and that has been transmitted through our complexion, the different lines in the hands, or different ways of being a person. That's the reason why we are different. So each individual is different based on what we have done in the past. So that's why someone who is well studied in predicting by looking at your eyes, nose, face, hands, feet. It's possible that person's nature, ability to explain person's nature, but again, it won't be able to predict for the future. It's just a presumption or speculation. So if you are continuing the way you are living now, then definitely all the predictions will come true in the future. But this prediction will come true or not, it's entirely based on your current effort to change your actions. And that is what the paticcasamuppada or dependent origination is. So that's why your future is on your own hand, not depending on anyone else, any external power or efforts whatsoever, but it's in your own hand. So it's up to you, make it or break it. It's up to you which way you want to go. And that is the dependent origination. And that's what Buddha was talking about. Okay. And on the basis of that, again today, when we look at it, I just wanted to further elaborate on that when we look at in these ways, number one, looking by the timeline, and then number two, in a connection with conditioning from the past to present, present to future, it seems like the circle of this dependent origination from 1 to 12 links appear linear, and depending on one another. One thing arises and another is conditioned to arise, like that. So there seems like a little bit of a lapse or some confusion may arise that it's so linear, but in fact it's not linear. So that's why Buddha, when we look at the Buddha's teachings on this dependent origination, what we found that sometimes Buddha explained only 3 of these 12 factors, and sometimes 5, sometimes 7, 8, 9, like that. But he never explained only 1, because it won't be a depending on something else. So that's why he always explained in this up to 3, and then later on expanding from that factors. So that's why it is not linear, and we shouldn't be taking this as literally a past, present, and a future, or this linear factors that is depending on one another. So in this case, that's the reason why we have to look at in another way, that which is the present cause and past cause as one. Present cause and past cause as one. And that's when we look at that, the past cause is ignorance, and ignorance, which is the past cause, and the present cause is craving and grasping, was called tanha and upadana. So past cause and a present cause working together. Now, tanha, or the craving. How do we crave to something? And how do we grasp or have an attachment on something? And that's simply because ignorance of the things that we have, whatever we feel, whatever we come to contact, and not knowing that these are simply a conventional and temporarily, we take it as the absolute truth. And we take it as a reality. And with that concept of a reality, we grasp on that experience or emotions that transforms it into emotion. And that's the reason why the past cause and a present cause works together to arise something new. And this is one way of looking at, just simply to break the linear process of depending from one to another, or just to break the understanding, break the misunderstanding that this is should past, present, and future, and shouldn't be working together. So, number one, avidya works together with tanha and upadana, which means ignorance works together with the craving and grasping or attachment. And the second, the sankhara works with the bhava. A sankhara here is volitional action and volitional formation, and bhava is a becoming. And now here, the whole the factors that I've been talking from yesterday. Yesterday I even explained that it's a kamma bhava, or the will of the bhava, or the whole paticcasamuppada I'm explaining in a form of origination. And bhava here is a becoming, a rebirth. We become something. And here, whatever we are performing, there is a karma, or the action, whatever we do as a principal agent who is we put intention to perform something by physically, verbally, or even thinking. Now, karma as an agent here, and then with our intention, we form something else. So we take action, and that action is, again, because of that action we create something, and there two forms happen. So one is called active procession or active process of a becoming, and the second is a passive process of a becoming. So when we talk about the active process of a becoming, is that because we want to be creating something and we have intention, so it works with intention to create something, so we become active, called a kamma bhava. And because of we are acting with our intention and that karma as agent, we will become something. It's called a passive process of becoming. It's called uppati bhava. So we become something. So here again, you see, it's not a linear, it's working with some other factors of a paticcasamuppada. And when this linear, from this bhava arises in here with the intention that we perform, whether it's good or whether it is bad, what arises is our body and our mind, basically our life. So that's why our life becomes the factor here. So becoming, we reborn. And this reborn is a 5 aggregate. And now about the 5 aggregate, I have spoke a lot previous few months on the basis of the first discourse of the Buddha. And that is one way of looking at the dependent origination. And a second is from vijnana to the vedana. So vijnana is consciousness, nama rupa is name and form, and the salayatana, the 6 sense spaces, and then a contact, a feeling, the phassa, and then vedana. So because of we have this consciousness, we have this life, the body and the mind. And because of this body and the mind, obviously, it's very easy to see that we have a 6th sense. And because of this 6th sense, we come to contact with this world. And I have explained another night that saying that the whole world that we experience through the senses. And that is contact. And as soon as the 6 senses comes to contact with the 6th sense base or objects, that creates the feeling. And up to this, again, up to this is a present cause. This is a present results that we have. Basically, when we look at ourselves, we don't have many in our life. We all have is the 5 aggregate, or this mind and a body, or in another sense, looking at it, is the 6 senses. So this is the result of the past. And then there is a future results, and that is aging and death. And here aging and death is only the summary of the 5 aggregates, and which includes all the sorrow, lamentation, grief, pain, disappointment, and everything. So we have as a active, or as a form, a form or the shape of our life is consciousness, our consciousness that we have, and the body and the mind, the 6 senses. So this is the whole we have. But very moment when something becomes, it is bound to get old and sick and obviously vanish. And along the way, as the body got weakening or getting old, all other sicknesses arises, and then all the sorrow and lamentation, grief, and that will arise. So in that case, Buddha, I'm going to refer to the scripture from the Samyutta Nikaya, the connected discourse of the Buddha. In that, the sutta number explains about the sutta number 10, and this sutta number 10 is explaining about his experience of this dependent origination. And here Buddha said that before his enlightenment, he had a question that why we should get old, sick, and death. And he couldn't comprehend that. But later, as he meditated, after he gave up a palace life and become a monk and meditated, and then after he reflected wisely, so-called yoni somanasikara, then he realized that the sickness and aging, sickness and death we are experiencing simply because of the birth that we are reborn, and which is again is easy to remember, easy to understand. We get we are getting old, and we are sick, and we have to die, and that's simply because we are born. We born to this, and because we are born, and we are bound to experience these old age, sickness, and death. So when we look at it, Buddhism seems like a very pessimistic, boring, and sad, but it's telling the reality is that. This is the reality that no one can say no. But our perception is that we always want to hear something nice, something fake news. Something makes us feel that, oh, that's good. Makes feel that, oh, I am handsome, I am beautiful, I am talented, like that. But the reality is that we have to get old, sick, and death. That's simply because we're born here. And then further on, he further said, then it occurred to me, when that exists, does aging and death come to be? By what is aging and death conditioned? Then because through careful attention there took place in me an breakthrough by wisdom, when there is birth, aging and death comes to be, aging and death has birth as its condition. Yeah? So as I said, so birth as its condition. And where the birth is, how the birth come to be. And further, Buddha said that birth come to be because birth come to be, and says, what is the birth conditioned? And then bhikkhus, thorough careful attention there took place in me, a breakthrough by wisdom. When there is existence, birth come to be. Birth has existence as its condition. So bhava, the existence, is the condition. And where the existing is condition, and further on saying that when there is a clinging, existence comes to be. So existence has clinging as its condition. So, okay, and then clinging says, where this clinging coming from? And the Buddha said that this clinging is coming from simply because when there is a craving, clinging comes to be. Clinging has craving as its condition. And further he asks where this craving is conditioned. And further on goes on, it's conditioned because of the feeling. We have a feeling, and because of that we crave. And then where the feeling is arising, and that's simply because of the contact, the six senses come to contact. Yeah? And where the contact coming from, conditioned, and the six senses, where the six senses are coming from, and that's simpler because we have a mind and a body. And where this mind and a body is coming from, and that's because it is conditioned by consciousness. And where the consciousness is coming from, it says volitional formation as its condition. And where the volitional formation is coming to be, and it says that it's ignorance as their condition. Thus, in summary, Buddha said, thus, with ignorance as condition, volitional formation come to be. With a volitional formation as condition, consciousness comes to be. As consciousness, as a condition, nama rupa, the mind and the body, and it comes back into the suffering, such as the origin of whole mass of suffering. So origination and origination, thus bhikkhus, is regard to things unheard before. There arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge and light. So that was what the reflection the Buddha had on this paticcasamuppada, saying that this is how, which he never heard before, it come to be in his knowledge. And that's how he got the vision and knowledge and wisdom about it, and light arose. So he was so happy to have understood the paticcasamuppada, dependent origination. So I end here with this, and thank you everyone for listening, and we'll come back on the same topic tomorrow in other aspects, looking from the other aspects on this dependent origination. So until then, good night, and see you tomorrow on the same time. So may you all be well and happy. Take care of yourself, and in a few moments time you're going to have a chanting and a guided meditation. You're most welcome to join with us. Until then, good night and take care. Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu. May the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. Sadhu.